What's going on YouTube friends and family, and welcome back to my channel, The Real Estate Real. I'm your host Tyler, and today what we are doing is we are making market predictions for the housing market of 2023. So of course, a lot of you know, if you watched my videos, I made a market prediction last year, and I was actually pretty accurate with that prediction. So hopefully we just get as good insight as we did last year and hop right into it. So of course, a lot of you know in 2022, mortgage rates had a roller coaster ride. They started the year at about 3% and they ended up about 7.5% midway through the year, just to drop back down to 5.5% at the end of the year. And we're somewhere around that right now. So it's pretty substantial because that was one of the biggest hikes that we've seen in a while with mortgage rates. And you know, it actually took a substantial drop as well. So it was one of the biggest rises and biggest decreases that we've seen in multiple years over the real estate market. That kind of set the precedent for what the market would be like in 2022, and it gave us a good indication of you know, how people would kind of react to the market if it changed up a little bit, which it is right now. It has been changing over the last couple months since around that June time of 2022. So right now we have seen prices drop just a little bit, not so substantially as we would have thought before, but you know, they are still seeing a decrease, and that's pretty substantial because we haven't seen a decrease in the housing market in pretty much over a decade. So the last time we saw a substantial decrease in the housing market was about around 2011, and that was about a 1% decrease in the market. And right now we've seen about a 0.7 decrease in the market. So that means, you know, houses are pretty much staying on you know, the market for a longer period of time. But what the mortgage rates are really doing is making buyers reluctant to actually buy a home at the time, even though they're not paying you know, 50 or 60,000 over asking price. They're worried about that monthly price on the mortgage and whether or not they're going to be able to afford that mortgage, which is obviously a logical question for any home buyer, because you know, you get to worrying about if your expenses are too high on a monthly basis, you can't really afford what you think you could afford at the time, especially with all those things like a car payment and other things like that. So that's about a gist of how 2022 went. You know, mortgage rates increased, pretty much prices decreased, and homes stayed on the market for a longer period of time. So what do we expect to see in this market in 2023? Well, hopefully we're not seeing the mortgage rates, you know, take a roller coaster ride like they did last year. Hopefully the Fed can get that under control. But a lot of it has to do with the way the economy is going, and the economy will go this year in 2023. Last year we saw a substantial increase in inflation, which left buyers reluctant to go out and purchase a house, as well as it left sellers in a position where they were wondering, you know, is it a good time to even make a move right now? Because you know, the U.S. economy isn't that stable right now for us to be confident in making decisions whether we're going to make a move or not, or whether, you know, we're going to end up in another city. So buyers were actually more reluctant, and that's where the days on market came into play, because we're seeing a substantial increase in days on market right now, which will, with the inventory increasing in the housing market, you know, over 2023, which I see, because I don't think right now with the way we're going, especially, you know, the economic status in the United States, I don't see right now with the way we're going, prices, you know, seeing a substantial increase, and you know, houses coming off market faster than usual. So my real prediction for 2023 is that we see a slight pricing decrease in homes again this year. But in 2024, we're probably going to see that housing market bump back up because the U.S. economy is going to actually stabilize back up. I think inflation will probably go down a little bit. But, you know, I believe that 2024 is our next election. So we'll see what happens during the election time. The economy in itself can get a bit unnerving, I guess, during the election, because people are deciding to pull their money out of certain places, as well as people are holding on to their money. So the U.S. economy actually grows when actually people usually spend money. And it gets a bit more complicated than that, obviously, because, you know, one of the reasons that we did see the you know, mortgage rates increase is because housing prices were actually, you know, on the rise too much. And that's where supply and demand comes in, of course. So, you know, I still expect there to be a supply and demand for homes in 2023. That hasn't gone away, because pretty much, you know, people like myself, which are millennials and stuff like that, we haven't actually gone out. Not all of us have gone out and took the chance to, you know, purchase homes and do things of that nature. And right now, a lot of millennials and different, you know, people who normally would have been buying houses in the 80s and the 90s, they're staying in homes and deciding to save up right now because, like I said before, it actually gets pretty scary when you don't know if you can afford those monthly incomes. And when you get into a house like here in California where the median home price is $550,000, you're looking at about a $2,800 monthly mortgage payment. So you have to make at least about $50,000 to $60,000 a year. And as a single individual myself, I know it's definitely hard if you're here in California to be single and purchase a home. So now I'm getting into more personal reasons, but yeah, I definitely see the market taking a little bit of a drop in 2023. I don't see it crashing, so to speak, and the housing just plummeting, because there is still that demand for houses, which is the most substantial thing when it comes to purchasing anything, is pretty much supply and demand. How much does somebody want it and how much does somebody need it? And actually, believe it or not, houses are one of the more substantial things in America that people need. People need food, water, and shelter. Those are your three necessities. So I do see homes staying on the market a little bit longer in the beginning of 2023 as well. I do think the market will pick back up maybe this summer, and we might see a little bit of a spike in housing during the midsummer, because that's usually the hotter months, even though hotter months in the housing market, even though it's hotter months in the weather-wise too. And right now here in California, we are seeing a bit of a weather change. We have seen a lot of water and rain lately, and things like that will prohibit people from making a move as well. Believe it or not, more people make a move when it's easier for them to transit and do things like that. Hard to obviously pack up all your stuff and leave if it's pouring rain or snowing outside, because you don't know the variables that you're going to come across when you're moving. So that is my prediction for 2023. I see houses staying on market just a bit longer in the beginning seasons of the month. I think it will speed up a bit as well. I see prices that have decreasing a little more, because those houses staying on market creates a lower demand for houses when more houses are on market. But this is a really confusing market, because the market hasn't been pretty much, there's still inventory as low as it was in the 80s and things of that nature. It's pretty crazy to think about, but there's a lot more residents living here in the United States. So, the demand is still there for the houses. So I see that price per square foot obviously dropping a little bit. I believe right now it's around $334 per square foot here in California. I see that dropping probably about to $320 per square foot on average, depending on where you're at. Sacramento, where I'm located at, is a pretty good indication of what the market is going to do. Here at the state capitol, we pretty much, we don't see the same things LA is getting at the time and Tahoe is getting at the time, but it's an indicator of the all-around California economy, because we usually get the news here first. So that is my market predictions for 2023. Of course, stay tuned, like, and subscribe. I hope you're having a great new year so far, and tune back in with me. If you ever need anything, my information is below, of course, and just ask me any questions you can. I'm here to help.